GWATA TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
Hello, North Central Washington. I'm Jenny Rojanasatian, your host of GWATA TV. On today's episode, we actually went outside the studio. So this is a highlight reel from GWATA's latest entrepreneurial panel. GWATA is passionate about supporting entrepreneurs and bringing entrepreneurial resources to our community. With this in mind, our last entrepreneurial panel of 2018 was around funding your business. So in the upcoming episode, you'll hear entrepreneurs talk about the unique ways they financed or started their company, as well as some information about resources that you can tap into in our community. The full episode will be available online, so if you want to dig into more information or hear more about these stories, be sure to visit the GWATA website. Enjoy!
Okay, Malachi, your business has a little more history than the other three people who are up here. You also, with your newest venture, have an undeveloped, unproven, evolving industry. What does funding look like for you in both types of businesses? What have you utilized?
Sure. So in the contracting business, it's more traditional banking with Washington Trust, who's here today. I have a long, since 2001 when we started, long, mutually beneficial, high relationship based, high level of service relationship with the bank, and it looks like lines of credit and loans for remodel or expansion. And so very much what you would expect to see in a banking relationship as you grow and develop your business. Salcedo Enterprises is anything but conventional because when we started in 2013, 2014, people didn't know what it was or knew even less than they do now, didn't know what regulatory framework it would fall into. And so there was a lot of fear about any kind of lending. It's half joke, but when marijuana became legal in Washington State, I felt like we took a back seat to the marijuana producers. It's like, you guys, I think, are having an easier time getting financing than we are. So, but real concern. So traditional financing was largely out. We first self-funded, and then as we expanded, we had passive investors buy in, so take an equity position, put money into the company to help it grow. When you don't have financing, all of your growth has to be done with cash, and if you're growing fast and you have to put cash up front for everything, that is very difficult. I believe stress is a technical term. Environment to be in. So that continued to evolve. We, in 2017, we had a private offering. So called a Form D offering. I learned a lot about securities law over the last couple of years. We very much wanted to stay regulatorily compliant. So what we do, there's not good framework for because it has attributes of a currency and a commodity and a security. And it doesn't fit neatly into any regulatory framework. It's a new asset class that has attributes of all those, and it's a technology on top of that. So we try to stay in a real regulatorily clear lane. So when we went out for capital, we did a private offering, we followed securities law, we hired an excellent team of attorneys that were very expensive, and went through that entire process and did a private offering, which is like, it's selling stock when you're not a publicly traded company, essentially. You're selling equity in the business. So we successfully went through that round, and that group of investors included individuals, institutional, and also angel fund investors.
So this is an excellent panel because we have every aspect of funding represented up here. So we're going to go back through, revisit with each of you here, and I want you to tell us about some of the challenges that you have had with the funding or with growth and managing those financial needs, and some of the successes that you have had. And Kathleen, we'll go back to you on that.
Challenges. Trying to keep up with everything. Some days we're a very small company. Some days I'm getting 3 hours worth of sleep and starting again. I try to just keep things going day by day. And it's stress is the appropriate word. I think any business owner, stress is the number one word that they talk about all the time. And it's learning to balance it. And some days I balance it really well, and other days I don't balance it very well, and my husband hears about it when I go home. But it's just kind of keeping things going. And I think for me, success-wise, is I've grown the business tremendously since we took it over. And now I'm in the process of working with my contractor on having a second location, which to me is a success, to be able to branch out.
Significant success. So you're going through the funding process again for the second location? Is
Yes.
it looking different than the first time through?
Way more paperwork. Paperwork. First financing was obviously part of our own funds, and then just traditional bank financing, showing that I could keep things going. Because the second location is requiring more funding with renovations and all new equipment and everything. Now we're going through an SBA loan, and government is the government. They want every little piece of paper and dot your I's and cross your T's 5 times over. So it's a lot more paperwork intensive. Just when you think you've given all the paperwork you can possibly give, they come back and ask for something else.
So as you're going through that paperwork process, have you had some support, mentors, or advice as you're working through that?
My banker, Washington Trust, is who I go through, and she tells me to take a deep breath, and it'll be over soon.
Talk about some of the challenges, and I've heard a little sneak preview because you had presented for 1 Million Cubs, and it shared a little bit with our entrepreneurial community there. So yeah, describe some of those challenges for us and some of the successes as well.
Okay, so for us, without a question, cash flow has been the challenge. And it's kind of, we get funny / embarrassing because before we started the business, I remember talking to other business owners, and they were like, the thing you're gonna have to look out for as you grow your business is cash flow. It's like, okay. But in the past, in my role, the thing I had to look out for was sales. Just sell it and everything is golden. And so when I was really good at selling and getting revenue going. And revenue started growing, and it started growing faster than I expected, and I was so excited. And all of a sudden, there was like no cash. And our growth looked like this. As I finally began to understand the way cash flow works, is that our growth looked like this, and cash was, expenses were here, but cash was clear back here still. And that was like a total revelation to me, that was a thing that you had to worry about when you were a business owner. And so it was just, I think the biggest challenge was my own learning curve, honestly. That, again, I felt embarrassed that I didn't see that coming. A couple things that helped us work through it. Probably the most significant thing was I got a business mentor, a coach. And I cannot recommend getting a strong, wise business coach enough. Because I'm pretty sure had it not been for him again, talking me off the ledge a few times, at some point last year, I probably would have just said, okay, we are laying everybody off. We're going to go back to a one-man shop. It's going to be very profitable and very small. It's going to be awesome. And his just take a deep breath. And then the thing that I so appreciate about this particular gentleman, his name is Jack, is his recommendation and encouragement to me over and over again is just embrace the challenge. And instead of seeing that stress and the lack as an awful, evil thing, embrace it as something that's actually could be very, very beneficial to your business. And he said, tomorrow you might go out of business. You don't know. Isn't that great? Isn't that so exciting? You've probably never been so alive in your life. And it's like, yeah, easy for you to Jack. You say, it was 20 years ago that you had to go through all this or whatever. But that changed my perspective a little bit from, again, I was really embarrassed and felt bad that, I have no money in the bank. I have all this revenue and growth, but there's no profit to show for it. Well, cash flow, profit looked great. It's like, well, where's the cash though? And so, just embracing it, and then allowing innovation to come at that spot. It's amazing how much innovation can come out of desperation. And one of the things that now looking back on it, I so value is that we got our team in the room, and I said, okay guys, here's what we're facing. In the next 45 days, we need to figure out how we get this much money to cover payroll, to cover, make sure you guys are paid. Let's brainstorm now, how are we gonna do it? And then I just said real openly, and if you decide that this is too stressful for you, and this is not your cup of tea, I totally get it. You have my permission to quit. I won't hold it against you. But it did the exact opposite, where it was sort of, okay, we're in this trench together. And it's really, we have a really amazing team environment because we work out of that place together. And some of the innovations that we put into place around our accounts receivable and sales and came out of, okay, it's sink or swim time, and so we're gonna figure this out. And I wonder, had I had $500,000 just sitting in there at the bank, if I would have been so innovative. In fact, I don't even wonder, I know for a fact I would. And so I think my encouragement to anyone that's in that place is actually see it as an opportunity, because that's exactly what it is. And innovate out of it. Try not to, as much as you can, try not to borrow your way out of those spots. Innovate your way out of those spots, because they can actually, some of your best ideas can come out of those really, really tough seasons.
Excellent success out of a huge challenge. Yeah, way to go. All right, Scott, you want to try and follow that act and tell us a little bit about your challenges and successes?
Yeah, I think what David's saying is really valuable. I think for us, some of the biggest challenges with being so small is making sure that you choose what you want to do very carefully. I think we have a lot of ideas. We're not the only ones that have a lot of ideas, but I think understanding where you can go with those ideas is very important. I think for us, the big challenges have come with wanting to do everything, and I think we've hit the point, we've found some success in our business, and we are constantly, I'd say right now, but we're constantly at this point of needing to make tough decisions of where are we going to pivot this business. We don't have the cash to just hire a team of people, and that's been a conscious decision. We could go out and try and find funding, but that's not where we want to go. So I think out of that, I'm going to kind of lean on what David was saying, is there have been ideas that have come out that I think have really grown our business. One of the things that we started was an e-commerce brand. We sell men's aprons, and we started this more as a way to consult better. We wanted to close that loop of understanding all the facets of an e-commerce business. And what we realized was that we were fairly good at identifying places in the market where there was opportunity. And I think out of that desire to make our business better, we created something that now is its own beast that we're literally trying to keep up with. This morning I was in our warehouse labeling, trying to get product out in time for Christmas. So I'd say that's been a huge challenge in choosing where we want to grow, but we've made this very conscious decision to grow at the rate that we want to grow at. And I think probably the most valuable thing that's come out of that I could suggest you guys to do is to understand that cash flow. And I think what both Jordan and I have done is we've each taken a year where we have done all of the bookkeeping ourselves. And that sounds very overwhelming, and it is. It really is overwhelming. But you'll come out the other side of that, and you will have a very good idea of what your business is doing, what money is coming in, what money is going out, how that cash flow is operating, and you'll be able to have those valuable conversations with your team. Hey team, we're 45 days out from running out of cash. It's not that we're not doing well on sales, but we just don't have enough cash in the bank. And that's how the majority of companies go out of business. Is not that they can't find revenue, it's that they don't have cash. So I think for us, that was the most valuable thing that we went through, is just having a great understanding of finances.
So as you got there, as you built that understanding of those finances, what kind of advice and mentorship did you seek out?
Yeah, I think we've gone through, I would say, a lot of different resources. We're in this space of e-commerce that is very quickly evolving. There's new tax regulations every day. There's new pieces that we're trying to learn every day. And so I think that we still haven't found that sweet spot of the advice we're looking for. And
People are coming to you asking for advice.
Yeah, and I think we very quickly had to stay one chapter ahead of people that we're working with, or trying to stay one chapter ahead of our own business. And so I think that's what really bred that need to understand all of these pieces. And I wouldn't have said a year ago that I wanted to be the one that was doing all of the bookkeeping. But now coming out of it, I can say that it's been very valuable, just because we haven't found who we want to work with. And I think now we'll be able to help build that person or that team.
Thank you. All right, Malachi, you've alluded to some challenges already, but dive into that a little bit deeper. Challenges and successes for us.
Sure. So cash flow is a theme apparently in business. We don't have AR risk, so we don't have an AR cycle, but we have commodity price volatility. Does anybody know what happened today with the Bitcoin price? It's off like 12%, it's down like $800 as I walked into this meeting. So my gross revenue stream is a commodity that can fluctuate 10 to 20% in a day. Wonderful when it's going positive, scary when it's going negative. And so our cash flow, the principle is the same, right? You still have to manage cash. Cash is king. Running out of cash kills. It doesn't matter how good an idea or how profitable you are, you cannot run out of cash. So the same principle. We have a 9-month cash flow projection that is ornately detailed. So part of our outsourcing team is Clifton Marcinallen, and some of our team is here today. And do we not watch that thing like hawks? I can tell you everything we spend. We spend a lot of money between operations, debt service, and capital expansion. And we bring a lot of money in, but it's volatile. And so we are constantly mapping out. You just can't guess. You can't guess cash flow. If you don't project your cash flow, project your cash flow, whether you're small or big or somewhere in between. You have to know. You have to know as good as you possibly can when your cash is coming in and when your cash is going out. And you have to see how that impacts every week your cash position. And so because our gross commodity, our gross revenue stream is so volatile, we have to project out and be very careful, because in our market, nobody knows the future. Right, newsflash, nobody knows the future in any market, right? But you don't have trailing history. emerging markets, the beginning of a life cycle of a technology or a business. These are fundamentals, right? You don't know, you don't have enough history. So assumptions kill. You have to. We don't assume great assumptions, okay? Our commodity is in a corrected market year to date. We assume correction status. We assume thinner margins. We make that assumption. If we make more money than we anticipate, that's an easy problem. I can deal with that all day long. If more capital comes in more quickly than I'm anticipating, that's an easy problem. I'm really good at spending money. So I don't have to plan for that. I mean, we have a strategic direction, but what we plan for is just what everybody's talking about. We need to make sure that we can service our debts and our bills when they come due, because a big chunk of being in business is staying alive. And you stay alive by making sure you manage your cash flow. And like my wife and I, you can imagine the colorful conversations we have because she's not actively involved in the business. So it's great for me because she makes me really simplify but make accurate statements. And I say, it's like one of my explanations there is it's like red light, green light. Right? So when it's really good, it's green light. You got to move forward really fast. And then when there's a correction, you got to tighten it up. You got to get really lean, and it's red light. You don't move forward very fast. And then it's green light again. And you don't jump at the wrong time or else you're out. So very much a common thing, different attributes, but the same themes running true through each of our experiences. Managing cash flows, critical.
So we're going to turn to audience questions in just a moment, and as they're thinking of these questions, I'm going to ask all of you the most difficult question of the day. Can you distill down to the most succinct message you want to deliver to our audience about your learnings in relation to funding? See, Kathy?
I would say don't be afraid to move forward. Because that's the only way you're going to grow.
Is it okay to use an idea that I'm really recent on and like I'm learning right now? Is that okay?
We'll vet it over.
Yeah. If I come back in 2 weeks and say, never mind, that will you all forgive me? So this is...
GWATA will send out a Facebook.
Yeah. So this actually, how many of you have read the book Profit First? Or know the concept at least? So Jordan and Scott turned me on to this. And to give you the Cliff Notes version, basically the big idea is it's the envelope system for business, okay? And but what he just is so adamant about is you build in profit from the very beginning, and you build your business from profit. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from entrepreneurs right here in North Central Washington, how they funded their business and the unique ways that they're growing their company. I want to reiterate that on the GWATA website, we have the full hour-long panel available so that you can hear in more detail from each of these entrepreneurs. And we'll also be listing up the resources, whether that's financing through Craft 3, local resources through the SBA, SCORE, and other great organizations like the Center for Entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of resources on the GWATA website that I want to point you to that we weren't able to highlight in our episode today. We always love having you tune into GWATA TV, so join us next time.
Since 1999, GWATA has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.